What's up, you guys? Welcome back. If you're new, I'm Natasha. This is the What Are You Growing in the 2025 Garden Series. We are continuing that today. So, today we're going to talk about melons. I'm pretty excited. Last year we grew so many watermelons that it was preposterous. But we did grow in both the perennial garden area as well as our traditional garden. And I will say the watermelons were just outstanding. I'm really excited to talk about the melons that we're going to be growing this year. I like to grow a lot of different varieties and then cut up the melons, put them in the freezer, and we'll have smoothies all through the winter. We use them often to make jams and jellies, as you guys know if you've been with the channel for any length of time. And if you haven't, well, I hope you're as excited for the 2025 garden as we are. We're going to start with watermelons because I have this giant binder of seeds. Not all of this is melons, some of these are squash, but we're gonna start with the watermelons because that's what's up first in here. We're gonna talk about what we are growing, what we aren't growing, what we grew last year. I have a lot of seeds. I can't exactly remember what all was in the melon video from last year. So I'm gonna try to cover most of these and hopefully I'll get to all of them. Keeping in mind that I haven't fully decided on everything this year. So one of the melon varieties that I'm not sure if I'm going to grow in this next year is the lemon drop watermelon. This watermelon, although very good, it is very, very small and very prone to cracking. So if you get a heavy rain, we're growing here in 8V. I don't know if I mentioned that. We're in the deep south. We get a lot of thunderstorms in the summer, and when we get a lot of rain, but it's a lot of rain all at once. It's not like a steady, even keel of rain. I grew up in Washington State where we just kind of had rain all the time. Whereas here, we may not have rain for 2 weeks and then we'll get about 6 inches of rain. And then the next day we'll get 4 or 3. It's just kind of sporadic, which is tough on melons. They like a more consistent level of moisture. Otherwise, they're prone to cracking. Tomatoes are too, because it's a lot of expansion all at once. It's like getting stretch marks for people. So when it comes to the melons, this is one that constantly split on me. Although it's super cute, it's small, it did have a good watermelon flavor. I mean, and it's a tiny yellow watermelon, which is adorable. Who doesn't want to grow a tiny yellow watermelon? But I almost always have fire ants in them. They could smell the sweetness from a mile away, and I would reach over to grab one of these watermelons and it would be cracked and full of fire ants, and then I would get bit and it was just a massacre all around. I will not be growing them probably from that standpoint. If I find a little bit of extra space, I don't know, I might get a wild hair and throw them in there. But right now, as I'm planning out my garden, this is not a variety that I'm really excited about or ensuring that I'm getting in there. Whereas the next 3 on this page are completely different. The Orange Glow watermelon. Grew this variety last year. Loved this variety. I mean, the kids and I went back and forth all season on what was better, the orange ones or the red ones, like what watermelon was better. And some of these orange ones were so good. So this is a really outstanding variety. It even says on the seed packet, best of all orange varieties. It's a beautifully orange fleshed, sweet, it does have an almost tropical flavor of watermelon. It didn't produce as well as the Clay County Yellow Meat watermelon. This variety is from Texas, I'm pretty sure. No, Clay County, Alabama. My bad. But it even says on the back of this one, it's reputed to be the sweetest and best tasting yellow flesh watermelon. Okay, Baker Creek. You're giving me a lot of conflicting information here. This one produced better. So the Clay County Yellow Meat watermelon, this one produced just like crazy. I couldn't keep up with it. I mean, it produced so many watermelons. It was outstanding, but both of these were really, really good. I gotta give it to the Clay County Yellow Meat watermelon because it produced more than the Orange Glow watermelon, but they were both really good to the point that I'm gonna grow both of them again this year. I really loved both of these. This one says yellow, but really it's more like an orange. Right, they were both really, really good. Now, a variety that I've grown year after year in the garden that does exceptionally well watermelon-wise is the Charleston Gray watermelon, but that is because this is a watermelon that was bred in Charleston, South Carolina, which is about an hour and 45 minutes away from me if you're willing to take the bridge. If you drive around, it's more like 2.5 hours. a tiny fear of bridges. Don't know if I mentioned that to you guys. Ask me how I know. Anyhow, now that I've distracted myself. So the Charleston Gray watermelon, it just grows really, really well because it was bred in our environment. It's used to our heat, our humidity, our long summers with our torrential downpours. So it's a pretty steady producer. It's got a really tough rind, which stands up really, really well to the insects and the pests out here. And it hasn't really struggled with disease. Because of that, I will always, always grow the Charleston Gray watermelon. Always. It's fabulous. If you could only grow one variety of watermelon in your garden and you live in South Carolina, that would be my recommendation to you, the Charleston Gray. It's fantastic. All right, over here, we have the Congo watermelon. The seeds are behind it. The Congo watermelon was good. It was a decent producer. This is one that I grew last year and I really liked it. I'll probably grow this one again. I don't want to go too crazy with the watermelon varieties. I want to kind of keep it in check. And so I think I'm going to limit myself to 4. And this will be the 4th one that I'm going to grow. I liked the Congo. It gets really big. It was pretty reliable. It didn't have many issues, which means I'm going to be passing up on the Sugar Baby watermelon. Now my reasoning is quite different than most. So we have an exceptionally large family. We have 7 people in our family. So I like to grow larger crops that can feed more people. And as cute and sweet as the Sugar Baby watermelon is, I can get more bang for my buck growing a larger size watermelon. So I'm not gonna grow that one. And then you have the Crimson Sweet watermelon, which is a great watermelon. I mean, it's really good. It can produce up to 25 pounds. It's supposed to be a decent, disease resistant variety. But out of all the varieties that I have in front of me, 8 varieties of watermelon, this is just kind of, it's not that it's bad, it's just these other ones were better. And because of that, I'm not gonna grow it this year. I'm not gonna grow every single variety of watermelon for once. I'm trying to keep it in check this year. Have you guys noticed that? I'm giving it an effort. Okay, now we're gonna talk actual melons. I am not going to pronounce this. You're probably gonna hear this in every single video at some point or another. I will not be pronouncing the name of this. Look at this. Look at that name. You give it a try. I'm not doing it. So this is a honeydew variety that's supposed to hold up very well to picking. It has a smooth skin that's golden and it's supposed to be very crisp and rich. It's supposed to be a heavy producer. It's named for a city in Central Asia and is supposed to just be a very good honeydew type of melon. I'm excited to try this. I don't have a ton of honeydew varieties. I have a few. Not a ton though, so I don't know. I felt impulsive. I saw the yellow flesh and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. This may be the only new variety of melon I have this year. Probably because I have all the other ones. All right, up next on so I am growing that one, tiger melon. I'm not planning on growing this one, the tiger melon. I call it a tiger melon. Technically, I think its name is a tiger melon. I just feel like with the stripes, tiger melon sounds cooler. My family and I, we go back and forth on this because I'm like, oh yeah, the tiger melon. And everybody's like, it says tiger. It's a cute melon. It's pretty small. It's like this big. It's adorable on a trellis. And its flavor is meh. That's about as honest as I can give you. It's not very sweet. This is not a melon that you're going to just want to sit down and snack on fresh. It's not what you would expect a melon flavor to be. It's just kind of there. It just kind of exists. So for me, I'm not gonna grow it again. I'm trying to focus on things that I love. I don't know. I'm trying to dial it back a little bit. I'm trying to rein in my excessiveness. So speaking of things I've loved, the Prescott Fond Blanc melon. Now I may be somewhat partial to this melon because it looks like a pumpkin, and I do love really unique and interesting varieties of plants. And I've never seen such a beautiful melon that looks like a pumpkin. So the Prescott Fond Blanc is a French melon. It can weigh between 4 to 9 pounds, and it smells divine. Like, it smells so good when it's fully ripe, and you can pick it up by the stem and the melon will just fall off. And it's a cantaloupe type melon, so it tastes a lot like a cantaloupe. It's very good. I love this variety of melon. It may have won my heart just from the fact that it looks like a pumpkin, and so I'm partial to it because of that. But as far as it goes as a cantaloupe type melon, I really liked it a lot. Up next, we have the Amish melon. This is hopefully no one died. So this is a variety of this is another cantaloupe variety of a melon. It's a good producer. It's average. Its flesh, though, is not as tough skin as other varieties of cantaloupe, and because of that, this is one that the bugs seem to get into for me. So I often have to think about, if the melons that I'm growing have a tougher rind, like a watermelon, I can grow them later in the season when the bugs are the most active. Whereas my melons that are really thin skinned, I kind of have to get right out of the gate and just hope that they grow, or I have to cover them with mesh baggies or do something to prevent the pest pressure on them. And this one is just one that every time I've grown it, the bugs have gotten into it. So, to the point that I'm more willing to try other varieties that have had a thicker skin, so I'm more likely to not have inedible fruit. Because it sucks when you spend a long time growing a melon and you're excited to bring it in the house only to turn it over and find that there's 17 roly-polies, 2 stink bugs, and an army of ants already eating the melon. The banana melon. I've grown the banana melon every year since the first year I grew it. It is thinner fleshed, but it's very, very good. This is another cantaloupe style melon, and it's very sweet and very delicious. It's an oblong shape. It's kind of unique. Again, my love for unique partial things reigns true. This is just a really great melon. All of the kids really like it. They know it. It's a good one. I like the banana melon. I'm fond of it. The Haramadu melon was an excellent producer for me the first year I grew it. Its flavor is really, really good. It's a white flesh melon, which in and of itself, it's pretty unique. I only have a handful of varieties that are white fleshed. It's very, very sweet. It's very thin skinned though, so this one does need protecting, and it doesn't produce giant fruits. This is a variety that only produces 2 to 3 pound little teardrop shaped fruits, but they're very, very good. They have to not be overwatered because they can split as they're ripening, so that's kind of a touchy thing, but they're really, really good. And I'm gonna grow those this year because they are so good. All right, mango melon or vine peach. I love these. This is not a melon you're gonna eat fresh though. It has a unique name, mango melon, vine peach, for a reason. These are teeny tiny melons that are tough fleshed. They're not inedible, but they're kind of like an apple. These are melons that you can cut up, de-seed, skin, and can, and have mock apples. I have a whole video on making mock apple pie because we have apple trees. We planted them when we first moved in and they're still not producing for us. I'm hoping this will be the year. But while I'm waiting for my apple trees to produce, I grow these as my apple substitute, and then I can them, and then I can have apple pie for Thanksgiving and apple tarts for breakfast and all of those good apple-based desserts. I'm not gonna make an applesauce with it. I kind of want to try that now that I said it. I hadn't thought of that before. But that's what we use these for. They can be somewhat like a granny apple green sort of apple with that tartness to them. So you could eat them fresh over like a scoop of vanilla ice cream with like caramel drizzle, and that would probably be really good. But they're not like a tasty, I'm eating a melon sort of situation. They're excellent. They're the only melon I've known that you can. Okay, so Beta bowl cassava. I was really excited about this last year. This is supposed to be a giant 16-pound cantaloupe. So huge, massive, and it's beautiful looking. I tried to grow this last year. It's a new variety for me. I had all of one that actually turned into a big, beautiful fruit. And then my chickens broke into the garden and they massacred it. And I was very sad. And I did not get to try it. So I am growing that this year. I'm really excited about it. Hopefully it works out. I was so disappointed and heartbroken last year when it didn't work out. So I guess those will be 2 new varieties. Okay, the Kajari melon. I love the Kajari melon. Kajari melons they're almost like a honeydew, kind of. I mean, they have a green flesh to them, but their flavor is just very different. I don't know. There's something very unique about a Kajari melon. All the kids love the Kajari melons. They're very sweet. As they ripen though, their like inner skin can get a little bit mushy. So I like to harvest them when they're ripe, but not overly ripe, but you kind of have to watch them because I don't know, the mushy texture is just not for me, but these are really great. I love the flavor of these. They're excellent, really, really good. Now, 2 varieties of cantaloupe that I'm not gonna be growing are the honey rock. I'll put pictures in here. The honey rock cantaloupe and the honey kiss cantaloupe. Both of these are great. They're good varieties. I'm not planning on growing them this year. I have enough varieties of cantaloupe type melons. I may add the sweet passion cantaloupe into this just because it's somewhat tougher in its rind, so it holds up a bit better. I've found that the honey rock and the honey kiss cantaloupe can kind of, I don't know, they don't hold up as well. So far, the sweet passion has had the tougher of the rinds of those cantaloupes, so that's the one I'm leaning towards growing this year. So then we have a Santa Claus melon. That's the seeds right here. I'll put a picture in. Santa Claus melons are fantastic. They're super tasty. I really like the Santa Claus melons. They have a white flesh to them, and they're really good. I've grown those the past couple years. Really loved those. We're gonna grow those again. I have a top mark cantaloupe over here. Not doing that one. Again, just didn't make the cut. So then we have the canary melon. That's what I have over in the corner. A canary melon is a lot like, it is a variety of cantaloupe, but it has a beautiful yellow skin on it that's very thin. So, for that reason, it's not gonna make the cantaloupe cut because I have to dial it in a little bit. Now, as for the snow leopard melon, I grew this snow leopard melon 2 years in a row, and somehow I still haven't really been able to eat the snow leopard melon fruit. So I'm hoping this year, because the first year, I don't know what happened the very first year that I grew it. It didn't work out for some reason, like that. There were plants and I was able to save seeds, but I don't remember tasting it. Maybe I just saved the seeds because only so many grew and I wanted to make sure I had seeds for the future. I'm not sure why the snow leopard melon, I didn't taste it, but last year it was the chickens. Chickens got to it. So I am planning on growing it this year. It looks very similar to the tiger melon flesh-wise. I'm hoping that doesn't mean that it's going to end up being not great, but I guess we'll find out together. Then we have the Farm Woman melon. Collective Farm Woman melons, they're one of my favorite type of melon. They have an almost pear-like skin, but they're still sweet. And so for their uniqueness and their tastiness, I grow the Collective Farm Woman melons every year. I really like those a lot. They're really, really good. They're very hard to describe unless you've tried them, because it's kind of interesting to think of a melon crossed with a pear texturally and taste-wise, but that's the best way I could describe it, and it's really good. Then I have a Crenshaw melon and your standard honeydew. Crenshaw melon it's a honeydew variety of melon. It's much bigger, and for me, it always has this really dark green skin on it. It has typically been pretty tough, whereas my actual honeydew, like the honeydew that you would get in the grocery store, has always been very thin skinned. So I'm probably going to grow the Crenshaw melon rather than this variety of just standard honeydew that I have, in hopes that I can withstand some of the pest pressure this year. Well, that did not take nearly as long as I thought it was going to. I thought this was going to be a much more rambly video than it was, but that's going to wrap up the What Are We Growing Melons variety for the 2025 garden, and I will see you guys in the next video.